Oh hello, on today's video we're going to be reviewing the Brood Brothers faction for Kill Team. That's right, get ready, the Star Children are coming. We must make way for them. So, Brood Brothers, Kill Team. We got infiltration and security, so this is the first video in this little series. If you've been following the entire series, where I cannot point you towards an option for your Tac Op where you can just double up on killing stuff. I still think they have good Tac Ops that they can choose from, and we'll discuss the Tac Ops more in the Tac Ops slide, right? You are a 10 to 14 model team, depending on the choices that you make, which is quite a variance, okay? So, you have a base 10 model guardsman equivalent team. You're taking a commander, he's mandatory, and I would always take the las pistol and the power weapon and claw. It's just a better melee weapon. Then you've got gunners and snipers being pooled. Okay, so you can choose 3 from the following pool: the flamer, the grenade launcher, the melter gun, the plasma gun, and the sniper. I think you always choose 3 of these. I think you always take the melter gun and the plasma gun. The flamer, I think you probably never take. And then I find that there's a genuine toss-up between the grenade launcher and the sniper. I have, through the course of reading these slides, got myself into one camp, but they're very, very close, and we'll talk about them on the relevant slide. Then you've got all your other specialists, of which basically you have to choose which one to drop. So it's another of those videos where we're going through and saying, which one are you gonna drop? When I wrote this slide, I was leaning towards the medic. By the time I got to the end of the video, I was actually leaning towards another operative. Again, it's very debatable, and I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. After that, you have to pick from the special list, okay? So you have like a second element, right? So this is a three slot list, and you can pick one of the options. So you can take, essentially what you can do is you can take a Magus or a Primus, and they each count as 2 selections. So next to them, you could take a Trooper or 2 Psychic Familiars. Or, instead of any of that, you can take the massive Patriarch, like the big fat gene stealer. Now, you have another option, which is how they make it technically a legal one-box team. For every time that you could pick a Trooper, which is up to 3 times, if you don't take a Trooper, you can make one of your Ploys cost you 0 CP. So you could have a 10-man team and 3 Ploys that cost you 0 CP. I don't think you ever do that. I kind of feel like the standard options are you take the 10 models that you've got in your team and the Patriarch, or you take the Magus or Primus and 2 Psychic Familiars. Like, those are the normal things that you're choosing between. There are some more out there choices that you can do. I don't know how terrible Magus or Primus and a free ploy might be, like taking that free ploy option exactly once. I don't think it's worth it, but there might just about be something there. You're just giving up the Psychic Familiars to get one of your ploys costing 0 CP. If it's a ploy that you know that you're going to use every turn, would you give up the Psychic Familiars for 4 CP? But they don't have any ploys that you're definitely going to use every turn. I don't know, it's an interesting consideration. I would certainly never consider more than 1 free ploy. I think you always want to be taking the Patriarch or the Magus or the Primus, right? There is the option to go Magus and Primus or a Trooper, which I just think the Psychic Familiar is better than the Trooper. You could, in theory, go Psychic Familiars and 2 Troopers if you wanted to truly maximise the number of miniatures you put down on the field to go to 14. I think this is a terrible idea and you shouldn't do it, but I guess I thought I'd point it out. So, we have a special rule, we have a faction rule, it's called Crossfire. I'm going to read the card. Crossfire. Combined with their advanced coordination skills, the professional training and high-grade weapons of the Brood Brothers make them a deadly threat. With a sinister synchronicity born of the alien brood mind that worms through their psyche, these soldiers are capable of a concentration of firepower or a harmonizing of blows that is ferociously effective. Whenever a friendly Brood Brother operative is shooting against or fighting against an enemy operative, after resolving all of your attack dice, if that enemy operative isn't incapacitated, it gains one of your Crossfire tokens. Whenever a friendly Brood Brother operative is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an enemy operative that has any of your crossfire tokens, you can remove one of those tokens. For each that you do, you can re-roll one of your attack dice. So I like this because, in contrast to some of the other teams that we've reviewed, it's a really simple faction mechanic. You're stacking tokens on people whenever you perform a fight or a shoot action against them, and the enemy isn't dead at the end of that action. You can give them a crossfire token, and then you can pull off those crossfire tokens to get rerolls on attacks in future with future actions. Right. Now there are some teams that they're going to hate because there are a lot of teams out there that turn off rerolls. Not a lot. There's Night Lords do it. And I think Arbites, yeah, those are the two that spring to mind. Arbites, whatever we're saying. Those are the ones that turn off rerolls, and Brood Brothers really don't like having their rerolls turned off because it's their kind of faction gimmick, right? So we've got the strategy ploys. Their strategy ploys are really quite good. So you've got Pervasive. The Genestealer cult is omnipresent and all-pervading, infiltrating and attacking from dozens of locations at once. During each friendly Brood Brother operative's activation, you can ignore the first vertical distance of 2 inches they move during one climb. So it won't be one that you necessarily want to use every turn, but I can certainly see wanting to use it. It's going to depend on the map, right? Obviously, you're never going to use it in Into the Dark. It goes without saying. It's going to depend, but I can see it being a common enough thing in turn 1, maybe in turn 2. Like, removing 2 inches from the climb is pretty good, right? Pretty good. We got Uprising. Appearing at first to be allied troops, the Brood Brothers close in on their foes before revealing their treachery. The first time each friendly Brood Brother operative performs either the shoot or fight action during each of its activations, if its order was changed from conceal to engage at the start of that activation, the enemy operative selected as a valid target or to fight against gains one of your crossfire tokens as soon as it's selected, instead of after resolving your attack dice. This ploy has no effect if that friendly operative was activated within control range of an enemy operative. This ploy cannot come into effect more than once per activation. You can't use it during both the shoot and fight action in the same activation. So this is really good. Especially since you remember that your whole team is starting on conceal. You can flip to engage in the first turn. If you're slow on conceal in the second turn, you can flip to engage in the second turn. I don't know whether you always use this in the first turn or not. It's going to depend on your game plan and whether you anticipate flipping any models over to engage. So if you think you're going to flip, if you think you're going to get like at least 2 shots, it's probably worth doing, right, in the first turn. And then you're probably going to do it in the second turn as well, because you probably want to flip your whole team to engage in the first turn. After the second turn, you're going to have to play it by ear. Probably in third and fourth turn, most of your team's going to be on is going to be on engage already, right? Then we've got embed. So Brood Brothers are intimately familiar with the battlefields upon which they fight, taking up positions that offer the greatest protection from incoming fire. Whenever an enemy operative is shooting a friendly Brood Brother operative, if you can retain any cover saves as a result of heavy terrain, you can retain 1 additional cover save. Man, this is really, like, you don't have great armour on this team, right? You've got 5 up armour, but we're playing mostly on Vulcus, which has so much heavy. Yes, yes, I would like to retain 2 saves as automatic passes, please and thank you. I think this is really good. I think there's a really strong argument for playing this, at least in the first 2 turning points. Obviously, if things turn into a giant mosh pit in the middle and people aren't really shooting and being in cover and stuff, you play it by ear. But it's a really good ploy. Any of these first 3 are going to be a fantastic candidate for the scouting option that gives you a free strategic ploy in the first turn. I can see wanting all 3 of these potentially in the first turn. If you think you're going to be shot and you think you're going to get shot. I know it's one of those things. A lot of battle reports I watch, everyone just moves around and nothing happens in the first turn. I don't know whether it's because I'm phenomenally bad at kill team or Zimbad is phenomenally good. He always manages to get shots in turning point 1. But I am very aware that the received wisdom is, nothing happens in turning point 1. It's this really cagey turn. If you think things are going to happen in turning point 1, you want to activate all these things. Which I appreciate that's then all your CP, right? So it's tough, but you can use the scouting option to get 1 for free. You could, I'm not saying it's worth it, but you could make embedded is a good candidate to be the one thing you make cost 0 CP by taking 1 less operative, by giving up basically you're basically giving up your psychic familiars to make embedded 0 CP, and then you just have it for free every turn. It's just there, and you don't have to worry about it, which may just about be worth doing. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Cult Devotion is the dud, but honestly, it's probably quite good to have a dud just because you're going to burn through your CP, I suppose. Such is their devotion to the cult's cause, and the Brood Brothers will gladly trade their lives to lend a telling blow upon their overseers. So, whenever a friendly Brood Brother operative, excluding the Patriarch, is incapacitated when fighting or retaliating, if you have any unresolved attack dice, you can roll 1d6. If the result is a success, as if it were the roll attack dice step of that sequence, i.e. using the same weapon but with no rerolls, you can strike the enemy operative in that sequence with one of your unresolved normal successes, or any of your successes if the d6 result is a critical success. In either case, the friendly operative is removed from the kill zone afterwards. I mean, this is just really awful as a ploy on so many levels, as far as I can see. So first of all, you have to be able to predict in the strategy phase that you're going to need this, right? Now, that might not be too hard to do. I guess you might see you're in combat, and then you're in combat and you've got like 2 wounds, and they've got initiative. So there will be occasions where you look at it and go, cool, he's going to get punched. And when that situation comes up, you might well go for Cult Devotion. But even then, right, when you're in that poor situation, you're spending your CP for the chance to resolve a normal and the very small chance of resolving a crit if you actually have a normal or a crit, right? But you certainly wouldn't turn this on when you're going to engage in combat, because you don't even know that you're going to have a dice left. Like, a lot of combats end up with me dying, but also before that I die, there's been a lot of parrying going on and striking and things happening like that. So I just think it's really weirdly situational. I'm not saying never ever use it, forget it's in the deck. There will absolutely be situations that you can imagine where this is the right thing to spend a CP on, but I don't get it. It's just not. It's nowhere near the power of the others. Unless I'm dead wrong, tell me in the comments. FireFight Ploys. So we're going to start with Ruthless Coordination. So the little graphic that you can see is actually on the back of the Ruthless Coordination card, because I guess they thought it was so complicated they gave an image as well. So, Ruthless Coordination. The Brood Mind allows for incredibly precise communication and coordinated fire between the members of a Brood Brothers kill team. Use this firefight ploy when selecting a valid target for a friendly Brood Brother operative. Until the end of your action, determine visibility as normal, but you can instead determine intervening for cover and obscured from another friendly Brood Brother operative that both that friendly operative and the potential valid target are visible to, but that isn't within control range of enemy operatives. Note that the friendly operative doesn't gain the additional benefits of vantage terrain if the other friendly operative is on it, e.g. to target an enemy operative that has conceal that's in cover provided by a light terrain. So I think this is one of those things that you look at it and I can tell that it's extraordinarily powerful, but I also tell that you kind of break your mind trying to play the mini game of setting up these shots by going like, oh well, he's going to go around there and be able to draw a line to him, and then my more valuable gun here is going to be able to get a shot, and then he won't count as concealed, or he won't get to retain a dice. Like, it's not as good as it could be. It's not letting you shoot people. It's not letting you shoot somebody that's concealed behind cover by flanking them with a different model. It's only going to let you shoot people that would otherwise be obscured, right? Which is good. But I almost think it's one of those things where if you see a place where like, oh, I can move a guy and do a thing, and then I might be able to use this, then go for it. But don't like go into the game with a huge game plan centered around ruthless coordination, because I think you could really go wrong in like trying too hard to set it up, if that makes sense. Unquestioning loyalty. The cult's rigid hierarchy is enforced by military training. Low-ranking Brood Brothers will stand in the way of bullets or blades to protect their leaders. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly Brood Brother leader operative is selected to be the valid target of a shoot action, or to fight against during the fight action. Select one other friendly Brood Brother Brood Guard operative, excluding the leader, visible to him within 3 of that leader operative, to become the valid target or be fought against if as appropriate. Instead, even if it wouldn't normally be valid for this, if it's the fight action, treat that other operative as being within the fighting operative's control range for the duration of the action. This ploy has no effect if the shoot action and the ranged weapon has the blast or torrent weapon rule. I don't like this. And I feel like that's me being stupid, because I've seen other content creators that go on and on about this being really good. But like, I feel like the Patriarch can like take a hit or two on the way in, and I'd rather have a Patriarch that had taken a few wounds than a 7-wound model that had taken a few wounds. And maybe I'm wrong about this, I think that the Primus and the Magus kind of want to be at the back, like on concealing a vantage point or something. Now, like, the Primus has a pretty good combat weapon, so maybe you want to be marching him up the board with protected with this, but like, maybe this isn't the team for me, despite the fact that I'm painting up, but I just don't like get the hype around unquestioning loyalty. Idolization. The cult leaders use the psionic power of the Brood mind to provide powerful inspiration to their followers. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly Brood Brother operative, excluding the leader, within 6 of a friendly Brood Brother leader or Brood Brother Iconward is shooting, fighting, or retaliating. In the roll attack dice step, you can retain a fail as a normal instead of discarding it, or retain a normal as a critical. So this is pretty good. It's especially good because it's a firefight ploy, so you can look at the map and see, do I happen to be within 6 of a leader or the Iconward? It's a great extra reason to take the Iconward, right? Gives him an extra something to do, which is good. He will always be within 6 of himself, which is nice because he's not awful in combat. He's got a combat weapon that's not bad, right? I quite like that. That's all right. And then Insidious. Brood Brothers rely upon ambush and surprise to defeat their enemies, retreating and repositioning as required. Use this firefight ploy after an activation. Before the next activation, you can perform a free dash action with one friendly Brood Brother operative, as long as it's not a valid target for an enemy operative when it starts and ends the action. Brilliant. I think you're going to use this every turn on someone, because it gives you that free extra dash, which is just so clutch in so many different scenarios. It's going to come in for you, whether it's getting somewhere where you've got a shot with your other things or something else like that. I think it's a really, really, really good thing just to be able to go, okay, just before I do my next activation, I'm just going to do a dash with him. Then I'm going to activate him and do the other things that I've measured out that I was going to do following that dash. It does have the caveat of it can't be a valid target before or after the dash, which is, I guess, is a thing. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to me. So let's start going through the operatives. So we've got the Commander. The Commander is mandatory. You always have to take him. He's not really that interesting. In fairness, he's APL2, 6-inch move with 5-up save. He has 8 wounds. The rest of your team has 7 wounds. So it's a standard Billy basic, like bog standard bottom of the tree Imperial Guard team. Right. You've got some options for ranged weapons. You can take the bolt pistol. You can take the las pistol, which loses a point of crit, but you basically gain the option to take a power weapon. So basically, you could take the bolt pistol and have the point of crit on the gun, and then you've got the chainsword and claw, which gives you 4-5 balanced and rending, or you could take power weapon and claw 4-6 balanced lethal 5-up and lose the point of crit on the pistol. I prefer the power weapon and claw. The kit comes with a power with a cool like sword, like a a Genestealer-y Tyrannid styled sword. You could totally argue for the bolt pistol. It's what you prefer. I like the fact that with the power weapon you get lethal 5-up, which I rate more highly than rending. Yeah, I think he'll do some damage with that in combat, especially against another like non-elite team where it's fair, and then you're a guy with the power sword. That's amazing. I've been playing a lot of it's funny because I've been playing into a lot of Marines, and so if you're playing into Marines, it's like, oh god, what's he gonna do, right? But if you're playing into another 7-8 wound team, he's a guy with a power sword, right? And that's powerful. Now, his ability, he's got coordinate, so in the strategic gambit phase you can dole out one of those crossfire tokens to anyone on the board. This is kind of strong, and so there's an argument that exists that's like, no, you take the drum-fed auto gun, so you can keep him at the back, keep him safe, plink away with your auto gun, and then you've always got your strategic gambit. But you're going to get the free crossfire token in turning point 1, and then you're probably going to move him up, and you're not going to put him in harm's way. So you're going to get the strategic gambit in turning point 2 as well, and then in turning point 3 you're going to get the strategic gambit because it's before he activates, and then if he's alive, you're hoping to charge with him, and then he might die. So you're only actually going to lose one, like, of the argument of keeping out of harm's way. You're really only likely to... He's likely to die in turning point 3, I would have thought. So you're probably only losing one strategic gambit. Does that make sense? No, he might die in turning point 2, so you might lose 2. Yeah, he might charge in turning point 2, so you might lose 2, but... I'd rather have the chance of killing a guy, I think, than an extra 1 or 2 crossfire tokens, I think. You're still going to get 2 out of him. You're going to get the 1 on turn 1, and you're almost certainly going to get the 1 on turn 2, right? Yeah. Plus, rule of cool. Like, you want him to have a claw because you're a Genestealer Cults team, and using the Genestealer bits looks great, or do you want him to have some boring-ass Cadian drum-fed autogun from the Cadian Shock Troopers sprue? The answer is no. Okay? You want to have a claw, because then you've got a chance to paint something else in that purple or whatever you're doing for your kind of the Tyranid colours to go along with the military colours. So yeah. Yeah. Gunner and Sniper. Let's condense these onto one slide because that means we can talk about them. So they got the standard profile 2, 6, 5, 7. Okay, no problem. So we've got a they have a rubbish melee, right? 3 dice hitting off force 2, 3. Fine, that's not what they're about. So you've got the choice. You can take a flamer, 4 attacks hitting on 2s, 3 damage, range 8, saturate, torrent 2. The flamer's all right. I think if you had an option to take, like, personally, I think they should separate out in at least some teams and make it so you can take a guy with a flamer, and the only thing you're losing by way of opportunity by taking a guy with a flamer is like a what am I going to say? A last gun or something. The flamers can be pretty good. I mean, like, it's the same as the sniper rifle, right? It's 4 dice hitting on 2s, 3, which is pretty good. And then the difference is it doesn't have the devastating 3, but it does have torrent 2. But this is close range. Like, actually, the flamer's not that bad, really. I think maybe on Into the Dark, yeah, there's an argument, for the flamer. Like, I think it is there. It is in contention. And I've called it an auto-exclude on the slide. I think that's a little bit unfair. It is in contention, right? But I just think it falls off the bottom. You being a 4-up hit team makes the flamer more of a thing. If you're Kazakin, right, who are a human team that hits on 3s, the 2-up flamer becomes less attractive, right? The thing that makes the flamer a consideration in Brood Brothers is that it's hitting on 2s, and all their other stuff's hitting on 4s. But they are a team with a lot of access to shooting attack rerolls, right? Because of their crossfire mechanics. So you weigh that up in line. In a way, it's kind of the same argument about the sniper rifle. I think the melter gun is almost certainly an auto-include. I think there is an argument if you build the team in a certain way and you want to go all ranged and you just want to castle up and go, come get me. And I think that actually might be a legit playstyle, just about. There's a slight chance that you don't want to take the melter gun, but I think realistically you want to take the melter gun, you want to run up the field, and you want to see, and you do need to be slightly lucky, right? But you want to see if you can manage to kill a Marine. Maybe, like, get some las guns or something to shoot the Marine first, get some crossfire tokens on there, and then bully up with your melter gun. It is only a melter gun hitting on 4s, which definitely hurts, right? And try and achieve something with it. And then your melter gun dies. It's definitely a bit of a missile, a trade piece, okay? The plasma gun's a lot more interesting, actually, for this team. Now, you only have 7 wounds and you're hitting on 4s, so you don't want to go hot unless it's a real desperation move, because you can go from alive to very nearly dead with a botched hot roll. But it's a good gun for this team. It's a good ranged gun. It's piercing. It's 4.6. It's a decent gun. And that brings us to the sniper rifle and the grenade launcher. So I feel like they're really in contention. And when you compare them, at first glance, if you asked me like a day or so ago, I would have said it was a grenade launcher all day long. So let's look at the sniper rifle. So the sniper rifle's thing, it has 4 dice. It's hitting on 2s, right? On concealed or stationary. It's 3/3 damage, but it has devastating 3. So it's 3/6, which is quite impressive. Okay, it's heavy, so you can't move at all if you're going to shoot with it on this profile. Although remember that you've got covert guys. Oh, we haven't got to that yet. But in the equipment you'll have covert guys, which lets you do pre-game moves, or you could do the pre-game move scouting option to get him into a decent place. He has silence, so you can shoot from conceal, but you can only do that once. And then you've got concealed position, which means you can only do that once, yeah. So, and then the stationary is the same, but it's not silent. So what this means is, and there's a lot of other talking heads that have been like, oh, snipers are, and I was kind of up there for a while with this thought that snipers are worthless now, because, you know, they only have in the old version of the game, they got multiple concealed position shots, right? But, like, you position him. He's exerting a force on the game even if he doesn't get a shot. So assume that you position him either with the covert guys or the pre-game move and you get him up onto a vantage, right? And he's on there at the start of the game. That's not an unreasonable thing to be able to do, okay? And then he's immediately, like, unless they've got Seek, he's pretty much invulnerable, right? And he's covering an angle of attack. Even if he doesn't get to fire his gun at all, he's giving you a benefit by covering your angle of attack, right? If he shoots on conceal, okay, yeah, he's used that ability, but he's still concealed, which means for the next turn that he wants to shoot, he's still on conceal. He has to go to engage in order to shoot, but he's safe until he does so. So you're still basically getting 2 turns when you're effectively shooting from conceal, right? Because the turn that you flip from conceal to engage to shoot, you've been protected until you've shot, right? And then you know, so is your opponent going to give you a shot in the first turn? Like, yeah, he's less good than snipers were in a previous edition of the game. You don't need to worry about, but I think he's still pretty good. Now, the grenade launcher doesn't have any conceal mechanics at all. What the grenade launcher has is piercing 1. The grenade launcher has more damage. And again, if you were a Kazakin team hitting on 3s, I think it would be no contest. It would be the grenade launcher for days. The only thing that gives me pause and makes me think that maybe you take the sniper rifle is it's a heck of a jump from hitting on 4s to hitting on 2s. Right, but this is a team with a lot of rerolls knocking around, so maybe that makes the context there makes it go, well, yeah, they're hitting on 4s, but you can potentially reroll 2 or 3 of those dice with crossfire tokens, which you can put on there. So I don't know. I've kind of my position has evolved from always take the grenade launcher to actually I want to try the sniper, but I think I want to play and see and feel the difference between the two. But I think maths-wise, if you don't account for the crossfire tokens, the sniper is more likely to push more damage through just because of those two up hits. You know? Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's grenade launch versus sniper is a really interesting one. And I haven't put it on the slide, but just thinking about it now, the flamer, it's the same argument, really. It's hitting on twos. Interesting stuff. The medic. So medic's a pretty straightforward miniature, actually. APL 2, 6-inch move, 5 up save, 7 wounds. He's got a lasgun and a bayonet. He's got this funny little gene needler, which is a one-off, limited-use close combat weapon. So you roll 1 dice, and if you roll a 5 or a 6, you get to do 7 damage. If you roll a 4, you get to do 5 damage. So against a vet guard or another 7 wound, like another DC cultist that you're fighting into, you can charge, hope to roll a 5 up, and then kill them in 1 hit, which is quite funny. But that's not really his main purpose in life. His main purpose in life is to be a medic, so he can bring your models back to life. It's a bit of a word salad, but let's read it. Medic! Because it has an exclamation mark, you see. The first time during each turning point that another friendly Brood Brother operative, excluding the Patriarch, will be removed from the kill zone as incapacitated while visible to him within 3 of this operative, you can use this rule providing neither this nor that operative is within control range of an enemy operative. If you do, that friendly operative isn't incapacitated and has 1 wound remaining. That friendly operative can then immediately perform either a free dash action, but must end its move within this operative's control range. Subtract 1 from this and that operative's APL stats until their end of the next activations, respectively. If this rule was used during that friendly operative's activation, that activation ends. You cannot use this rule if this operative is incapacitated. Okay. So he can bring back 1 of your operatives on 1 wound, and separately he can, for an AP, he can put 2d3 lost wounds into one of your injured guys, which is pretty useful. I'll read that as well. Medikit, 1 AP. Select 1 friendly Brood Brother operative, excluding the Patriarch, within this operative's control range to regain 2d3 lost wounds. It cannot be an operative that the medic rule was used on in that turning point. This operative cannot perform this action while within control range of enemy operatives. Again, if you're taking chipped out, I've been playing into a lot of Marines. I don't feel like I'm going to have that many 7 wound 5 up save models against Marines that are not either on full health or dead. So I'm kind of sitting here going, do you take the medic? Is he that useful? Is costing 2 APL to bring back a guy on one wound really that useful? Maybe he's the one you leave behind. Maybe it's situational depending on your matchup. But he's certainly he's an interesting guy. Sapper. Oh, I really like the Sapper. I think the Sapper's really cool. People don't like the Sapper. The Sapper's awesome. I don't know what they're talking about. So the Sapper has a demolition charge. 4 dice hitting on 3s. Hitting on 3s. That's 4 up team. Hitting on 3s. 4/6 damage. Range 3. Blast 2, heavy, reposition only, limited 1, piercing 1, saturate. But that's not really his main gun. His main gun is found in the Grenadier special rule. So this operative can use frag and crack grenades. See Universal Equipment. I've put them down below just to remind everybody. Doing so doesn't count towards any limited uses you have, i.e. if you also select those grenades from equipment for other operatives. Whenever it's doing so, improve the hit stat of that weapon by 1. So you've got 3 up crack grenades, which is really funny because you're basically generally a 4 up team. So he's better at throwing a grenade than his compatriots are at firing their rifles, which is quite funny. So he's just this mad little guy that runs around throwing crack grenades at people, which it's not bad. And then if you get within 3, you can once throw your demolition charge, which is like a super crack grenade, right, with an extra point of crit and a blast. Okay. Now, he has a bayonet. I don't know why or how he has a bayonet, because he doesn't have a gun. So surely he should have fists, but fists have the same stats as bayonets, so what's the point, right? Now he also has this explosives action. So for 1 AP, the first time this operative performs the action during the battle, place your explosives marker within its control range. The second time the operative performs this action during the battle, inflict 2d6 damage on each operative within 2 inches of that marker, roll separately for each, unless heavy terrain is wholly intervening between that operative and that marker. 2 inches is pretty big. That's bigger than an objective, right? It's like an old school objective. It's good. No, it's bigger than that, right? Because that was 2 inches wide. It's a pretty big ass area. Is 2 inches from the 20 mil marker, right? I'll make a bespoke circle for this thing. Massive. This operative cannot perform this action more than twice per battle, while within the control range of an enemy operative, or during the same activation in which it was performed. Charge, dash, or fallback, or vice versa. So, people don't like the explosive action. It can hurt your guys, it only does 2d6 damage, it doesn't have any piercing. Fine. It's kind of cool, and it's got a funny interaction with the Iconward, but I actually think he's worth taking every time, just as this mad bomber guy that runs around lobbing 3-up grenades. It's a game about killing, and he's like, I've got a 3-up 4-5 piercing weapon. Yeah, it's only got a 6-inch range, but I don't actually see how you turn that down, and yet you hear people saying, oh, well, Sapper's the one I drop. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm just exceptionally poor at kill team, but that feels like a good model. And then if you get, like I said, if you get close, you can throw your super crack grenade, your demolition charge, as it's actually called. I think he's pretty cool. And then explosives. So you can do a funny thing with the Iconward. Let's look at the Iconward. So the Iconward's kind of tragic because he forgot to pick up a las pistol. In the old edition of the game, you could buy him a las pistol with equipment points. Now he just is sad. You could buy offensive grenades to give him something to do if he got a shot, right? But he'd be hitting on 4s, unlike the mad bomber guy that hits on 3s. He is like a boatload of utility. So he's got a knife that's slightly better than, or reasonably better than the fists and bayonets the rest of the team, right? He hits 4 dice hitting on 4s, 3-5. It's alright. Okay. He has a cult icon. Now it doesn't do the normal icon thing. Right, cult icon. Whenever determining control of a marker within 6 of this operative, treat the total APL stat of friendly Broodbrother operatives that contest it as 1 higher. If at least 1 friendly Broodbrother operative contests that marker. Note this isn't a change to APL stats, so any changes are cumulative with this. So he doesn't have to be on the thing. He only has to be within 6 of the thing. Right, he can hang back a little bit, and he buffs everybody on the marker. Now I know that the crit op isn't the main part of the game, but that's a really cool and better version of the general kind of banner rule in the game. He also has Broodmind Devotion. Once per turning point, when a ready friendly Broodbrother operative is incapacitated within 6 of this operative, you can use this rule. If you do, before that operative is removed from the kill zone, it can perform 1 free action, excluding fight and mind control, and you can change its order to do so. It's then incapacitated as normal. You cannot use this rule and the medic rule, right? But now this is just straight up cool when you get to fire a melter gun or a plasma gun 1 more time than you should have been able to. That's grand, right? And in fact, I'd probably always try and have him near your melter gun for just such a possibility, okay? But it does now have funny interactions with explosives, because in the old version of the game, explosives was one of the excluded actions, right? It's not now. So if your Sapper dies next to your Iconward, you can use the Iconward's ability to do explosives and place the explosives token, and then when you resolve removing the Sapper, you can then use the explosives action as per his little ability and detonate the explosives, which may or may not be something that you want to do, but I think it's a really funny little interaction, a funny little wrinkle, and a funny little options there. It might get FAQ'd away. It wasn't allowed last edition. I just want to remind you of the idolization firefight ploy, where, again, if you have this act, you can pay a CP, and then if someone is within 6 of your Iconward and they're shooting, fighting, or retaliating, in the roll attack dice step, you can retain one of your fails as a normal, or one of your normals as a crit. You see why I kind of want to take this guy and follow the melter gun around? because then the melter gun can both A, spend a CP to retain a normal as a crit, or a fail as a normal, or a normal as a crit, right? And B, when they inevitably kill the melter gun for his hubris, this guy's 6 inches away, and preferably like just behind a wall, because you don't need to be visible. The melter gun can then go cool and fire his melter gun again before he gets taken off the board, which is quite nice, I feel, you know. But all this said, he is kill team. It is kill team with a capital K, capital I, capital L, capital L. And this guy does not himself kill things. So you might argue he's a candidate for leaving at home. I don't think he is. I think he brings so much utility you can't afford to leave him at home. But following my basic rule of the specialists that you leave at home are going to be the ones that don't hurt people, he doesn't directly hurt people. So maybe you're leaving him at home. Yeah. The Vox Operator. So again, standard lasgun, standard bayonet, standard profile. 1 AP signal support. Select one other friendly Brew God operative visible to within 6 of its operative until the end of that operative's next activation. Add 1 to its APL stat. You can't perform this action while in control range of an enemy operative. So this is pretty good. Plus 1 APL is always a great thing. Yeah, I think giving people an extra APL until the end of their next activation is really good. Just for anybody that's really new to Kill Team, a common trick with Vox Operator type models that other people don't always see, is that you can use it on somebody that's already activated to give them 3 APL the next time they activate in the next turning point, which can be worthwhile because it means that you can have 2, 3 APL guys in TP2 potentially, which is might be something that you want to do. Like, not as often as all that, but it might be something that you want to do. And then, like, I think that would have been fine as an operative, but he also has a fun ability called Jam. So this is 1 or 2 AP. Select one ready enemy operative. So it has to be a ready enemy operative, right? That's a valid target. So that means not on conceal behind cover unless you're on vantage, right? So a valid can be obscured, but can't be on conceal behind cover or just totally like hidden and not visible. A valid target, or if you spend 2 AP, it can be someone that's visible. So if you spend the 2 AP, basically that lets you target someone that's on conceal behind cover. Okay. Roll 1d6 until the end of the turning point. That enemy operative cannot be activated or perform actions until it's the last enemy operative to be activated, or until your opponent has activated a number of enemy operatives after this action equal to the result of the d6, whichever comes first. So this is potentially really good if your opponent's got a sniper that is covering, a key route. You can't do anything about it because it's on conceal behind a piece of terrain, maybe on Volcus could easily be a heavy piece of terrain, or up on a vantage point, and there's no way you can get to it to kill it. You could jam it and then clear things up and allow your models to advance a little bit if that's what you wanted to do. Of course, there is the trap with this that you go, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send 2 AP to jam this guy. Then you roll your d6 and you roll a 1. So your opponent just activates 1 miniature, and then you're straight back to where you were, right? Because then you activate something, and if you've put them in harm's way, then the sniper's immediately going to shoot them. So be careful with Jam, but I think it's a really cool ability. This guy is not offensive either, right? He is a utility piece, but I just think, generally speaking, +1 APL is so useful that I think you always take the Vox Operator. Agitator. So Agitator has, again, no gun. No gun. So another candidate for if you want to take offensive grenades to give your Agitator something to do, maybe. But you are only a 2 APL team, hey. So the Agitator has a shock maul, which is pretty good. 4 shock. So when you resolve a crit, you get to discard one of their normal hits that they haven't resolved yet. If they only have crits, you get to resolve a crit. You get to discard a crit, sorry. So that's pretty good. But he also has Devoted. Once per turning point when this operative is fighting or retaliating, in the resolve attack dice step, you can ignore the damage inflicted on it from 1 normal success. That's pretty good as well. So it means that, he's going to be quite good. If he's just a little bit lucky, he's going to be quite good in close combat, and I think he's going to potentially hit up the combination of shock and devoted. I think means he's going to potentially punch above his weight a little bit. We'll see. He needs to be a little bit lucky, but not that lucky. Right, so he has this ability, Siren Caster. Whenever a friendly Brood Brother operative is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an enemy operative, within 6 of this operative, you can reroll one of your attack dice. Bear in mind, okay, yeah, it's kind of sad because you're a team that already has lots of rerolls around in the game. That much is true. But, okay, he is always going to be a friendly Brood Brother operative within 6 inches of himself. So he can listen to his own music, right, and inspire himself to greater heights of trying to stave in somebody's skull with a shock maul, which I think is pretty cool. I think Agitator's a cool guy. If you aren't in range to charge and fight, then I don't know what you're doing. You're moving and dashing, or you're throwing a grenade if you've taken grenades, but you only get 2, and there's a lot of models without a ranged attack in this team, which is quite funny. There you go. Here, speaking of models without ranged attack, here comes the Knife Fighter. So the Knife Fighter is your other kind of melee operative. He's really a bit of a missile, isn't he? He doesn't do anything other than charge someone and hope to kill them. So he can charge from conceal, which is pretty good. Like, it's a pretty good ability as it goes. Okay. Although, like, less so now in this version of the game, where if you're on conceal in turn 1, you can swap to engage willy-nilly, right? But he can charge from conceal, which is nice. He has 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Hitting on 3s is nice. 3/4 ceaseless lethal 5-up, which is pretty good. Ceaseless is good. And then counter-attack. Whenever the opponent is fighting or retaliating, whenever your opponent resolves a normal success, inflict 1 damage on the enemy operative in that sequence. I mean, if you're lucky and you get 2 crits, and again, you can charge, you can resolve a crit for 4, you can get hit back and probably not get 1 shot. Hopefully, ideal if they don't have any crits, you hit for 4, they hit you for hopefully less than 7 with the normal. You do 1 to them, and then you crit for 4 again. And with lethal 5-up, you might have 2 crits. Like, he can kill on the charge. He might kill an 8-wound model, right? That's quite reasonable. He might do 9 wounds total to a Marine before he dies. That's not nothing. On the other hand, he might roll like absolute garbage, right? Yeah, he's a bit of a missile. Do you take him into elites? Like, I charge a Marine. I roll 4 dice. I hit with, let's say, 3 dice. I get 2 hits and a crit, let's say. Right? I've got ceaseless. Maybe better than that. Yeah, I think you probably take it. I think you probably take him all the time. I think he's probably all right. He's not going to kill a Marine, obviously, but he's going to make the Marine a bit fearful that the next thing that comes at the Marine is going to kill the Marine, and you do have a lot more models than the Marines do, so yeah, maybe he's worth taking in that regard. And against other, Horde teams, I think he can, given that hopefully with Assassin he's going to be able to pick his fights, I think that he's going to do pretty well. Yeah. Veteran. I don't like the Veteran. And I feel like this is just because I don't rate this Bodyguard, the unquestioning loyalty ploy, and I don't get it. And someone needs to sit me down and explain to me, no, Phil, you've got this team all wrong. Here's why unquestioning, if you watch Can You Roll a Crits, because Can You Roll a Crits done a review of this team, he's really gassed up, oh yeah, get down, Mr. President, yeah. And I just you're much better at kill team than me, John, so obviously, but you're not really, when somebody's really good at something, they occasionally forget to explain why something is good, because it just seems so self-evident to them, and you fall into the trap of going, and I'm just sitting here going, but what, I don't want to have this guy just pointlessly following around my other guy being some ablasive wounds. My feeling is the Patriarch can look after himself to a great extent, right? Because he has loads of wounds. And I mean, we're going to look at these guys in a minute. And I think, and maybe this is where I'm totally wrong and awful and retarded. I don't know. I kind of think that the Magus and the Primus want to stand on a vantage point on conceal for the whole game, just going, here I am, guys. I don't know. Like, we'll see more when we come on to the leaders, the kind of elite part of the team. But I just don't get this guy. So okay, he's following your guy around. Like, okay, so he's got a shotgun. 4 dice hitting on 3s, 4 range 6 is pretty good. He's hitting on 3s, 4 dice, 3 range 6. But the trade off is the long range shotgun is like not great at all, you know. And then he's got a bit better. He's a bit better. He's got bayonet and claw. He's a bit better in close combat, but like it's still only 3 dice. It's still hitting on 4. It's still only 2/3. And then he has resilient, so a normal damage of 3 inflicts 1 less damage. So, you know, I don't know. Like, I think you're still gonna get. Someone hits you with a gun that's like 3/4, and they get like a crit and a hit through, which doesn't seem that unreasonable. Then it will keep you be alive on 1, I guess, which is not nothing. It doesn't set my world on fire. He used to have in the old version of the game like a really swingy feel no pain type mechanic where you rolled dice and you could potentially just take no damage, and it was really quite good. And because that mechanic's been changed to this mechanic like game wide, because it was really oppressive when like whole teams could get it. I don't know that it was that oppressive for the Brother Veterans. I think maybe he's the guy that I don't take. I'm sure that I'm being stupid and wrong, and you'll tell me this in the comments, but I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. Right, now we're on to the special big elite monster men, which is amazing because I was supposed to go to bed about half an hour ago, but there we go. How long have I been? Yeah, it's going to be a long one. So the Magus is our first big elite option. 3 APL, a move of 6, a 4-up save, even though he's wearing pyjamas, and 9 wounds. So he's pretty, much better than the rest of his guys. He's got an auto pistol, which is forgettable, right? 4 attacks at 4s, 2/3 range 8. He's got a bio dagger, which is 2 attacks on 4s, lethal 4-up 3/6, that's pretty cool, and a force stave, which is 4 attacks on 4s, 4/6 psychic shot. I don't know which is better. I feel like one's going to end up just being better. Maybe it's the force stave because you got 4 attacks, but lethal 4-up's pretty fun because it means all your hits are crits. He doesn't really want to be in combat, so I'm not going to spend that much time analysing it. Right. This guy has 2 actions. So we'll start with telepathic overload. So he, psychic action, select 1 enemy operative visible to this operative until the end of that operative's next activation, subtract 1 from its APL stat. So, infinite range, just needs to be visible, boom, 1 AP, you minus 1 APL, no stupid dice rolling like a stun grenade, no nothing, just, you're less 1 APL now. That's pretty good. And then mental onslaught, which is interesting. 1 AP, psychic action. Select 1 operative that's a valid target. So, again, this means visible to and not on conceal behind cover, right? Inflict 2 damage, or 4 if it's within 6 of this operative. Then roll 1d6. If the result's higher than the enemy operative's APL stat, inflict 2 damage, or 4 if it's within 6. And then you keep going until you've rolled equal to or less that enemy operative's APL stat, or until it's incapacitated, or until you inflict 8 damage. So, what you have in a weird roundabout way here is like a silent gun, because you can be on conceal and do this. There's no rule against that. That can do 8 damage. That doesn't really care about how defensive your opponent is in terms of like its saves or anything like that. I think that's really, I need to properly sit and think of because against an APL 2 guy, you wanted to roll 3 3-ups on the trot, right? And against an APL 3 guy, you need to roll 3 4-ups on the trot. But of course, you can do the telepathic overload first, right? Just to make the mental onslaught easier, because it subtracts 1 from his APL stat. So, if you've got if there's a Space Marine down there, you first put him down to 3 APL, to 2 APL, and then you do 8 damage to him, hopefully. Space Marine's going to survive, but he's, at that point, having a bad day, right? At that point, he's pretty leery with what's happening to him, considering his actions. I think I really quite like the Magus in a lot of ways. And then, to add to all of this, the Magus, while you have him and he's alive, whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Brood Brother operative, ignore the piercing weapon rule. So all you guys have effectively what they used to call invulnerable saves. They just ignore piercing, which is hilarious. It would be really good if you had decent armor and, if you were 1,000 Suns or something and could have a 2-up save and ignore piercing, that would be better. But yeah, team-wide ignore piercing is pretty great. You can ignore any changes to your operative stats from being injured. You're probably not going to spend much time being injured with a 7-wound team, but hey, it's a thing, it's worth having. And you can ignore any APL changes as well, which again, why not? Why not? And this is one of the reasons I don't rate the little bodyguard veteran fella, because I think what you do with this guy is you put him on a vantage point, right? So he's got 3 APL, so you activate, you move up onto a vantage point if you can, you sit there on conceal and you go, okay, I am now a gunner with my mental onslaught, right, and my telepathic overload, and also, while I'm alive, I'm just giving my entire team, hey, can't be pierced, can't be injured, can't have your APL modified. And it's quite hard, unless they got Seek, it's quite hard to dislodge someone who's on conceal all game on a vantage point. And you can really exact some kind of, dominance on the field that way. So I quite like the Magus. And the Primus is kind of the same deal, right? He's a bit simpler in what he does. So the Primus has this scope needle pistol. It's 4 dice, hitting on 3s, 2/4 silent, and then within range 80 against lethal 5+. He has Fist of the Patriarch, so he can perform either 2 shoot or 2 fight actions. And he also has the Bone Sword and Toxic Injector Claw, which is 5 dice hitting on 3s, 4/5 lethal 5 rending. I know his combat weapon is better. Okay, I understand. But it's really tempting to just put him on a vantage point on conceal and go, cool, I'm going to spend 2 of my 3 APL shooting you twice with my scoped needle pistol, right? And then I'm going to spend my 30 APL furiously conspiring to gain a CP. Right. By the way, the whole time that I'm alive, once per turning point, after rolling off to determine initiative, if this operative's in the kill zone, you can do one of the following. You can add 1 to the dice results, or if you didn't have initiative in the previous turning point, you can re-roll your dice. So you can really have a good chance of being the person that gets to go first. And then if the opponent does play aggro and they're coming to you and they're in your deployment zone, oh ho hey, you can jump down and get into the mix with your Bone Sword and Toxic Injector Claw, which is a pretty good melee weapon, 5 dice hitting on 3s, 3/5, lethal 5 rending. The Magus is exciting. Mental Onslaught's interesting and exciting. I really like his suite of abilities. The Primus, it's more basic, but it's like a CP, and you're probably going to go first. Those sound amazing. The Primus is going to be straightforwardly really useful just being on the field, whatever he's doing. The Magus, potentially, you might be playing into a team that doesn't have that much piercing, right? They are out there. And again, you guys aren't going to be injured that often. You guys aren't going to be, they're going to be alive or dead a lot of the time. But Mental Onslaught looks really good, but it's weird to evaluate because it's not a straightforward shooting attack. I like them both. I want to try them both. And then we get the Patriarch, which is not wanting to stand in a clock tower on conceal. He's wanting to run forwards and eat Marines. So the Patriarch has 4 APL, 4 of them, a move of 6, a 4-up save, and 21 wounds, which is quite a lot. He has some claws, hits on 3s, 5 dice, 5/6, relentless and rending, which is pretty good. Alpha Predator. Whenever an operative is shooting this operative, ignore the piercing weapon rule. You can activate this operative twice during the turning point as long as you have AP to spend. It stays ready while it can still be activated a second time. Per turning point, it cannot move more than 9, and you can't spend more than 4 AP in total for it. So it's worth saying that I don't like mentioning this much, but the previous edition, because I want this to be evergreen content. But for folks coming from the previous edition, you had to slightly awkwardly be like, I activate my Patriarch and I choose to generate 1, 2, 3, 0 APL. You don't, APL doesn't work like that anymore. You don't generate it at the start of your activation or anything like that. You just have it, right? So if you gain APL partway through an activation, you just gain APL, right? And you can use it straight away. And yes, so you can just, you can play it by ear. You don't have to stick to the plan. You can just be like, I move over there, I fight. Oh, I unexpectedly I won. Maybe I do this other thing. Maybe I don't. Whatever. Right? So that's nice. He has Monster. This operative cannot use new weapons on its data card or perform unique actions apart from its own into the shadow of mind control. Whenever your opponent is selecting a valid target, if this operative has a conceal order, it can't use light terrain for cover. This can allow the operative to be targeted. It still doesn't remove its cover save. So you can't conceal under by light terrain to avoid being shot. You can change your order for an AP, which is pretty good, considering you've got 4 AP, right? But you can't do that if you're in control range of an enemy operative. And then we've got Mind Control. Mind Control is quite complicated, but not that complicated. So it's 2 AP. I've written lies on the slide because I realised it's 2 AP. So it is 2 AP. That kind of sucks. Actually, I'm not going to lie. That kind of sucks. So select one enemy operative visible to him within 2 of this operative. Both players roll 1d6 and add their respective operative's APL stats to the total. If your total is higher than your opponent's, you can resolve the action's second effect. Until the end of the activation, that enemy operative is a friendly operative, an enemy operative for your opponent. You can change its order and can immediately perform one free action. It cannot perform an action in which it moves other than dash, in which case specify the location for your opponent to move the operative to. You can only resolve the action's second effect once per battle. The operative cannot perform this action while within control range of an enemy operative, unless it's the only enemy operative it's within control range of is selected for this activation. So, what I've written on the slide is wrong. Bear with me. So, what you can do is you can charge and then mind control, right, for 3 AP. If mind control works, because you do have to roll the d6 and add the operative APL to your total, and if it's higher, resolve the second effect. And if it's not high, you still lose the action points, mind you. And then you can resolve mind control. So you're only bothering, because this is a high risk strategy, you're wasting 2 AP to potentially do nothing. You're only bothering to do this, really, I think, if you get the charge on like a melter gun, or a plasma gun maybe, or something like that, that's then going to be able to turn around and kill one of your opponent's things. Right, but if you get that, that could be a really powerful swing turn. So you imagine you're playing against Space Marines, Legionaries or something, and you charge your Patriarch into the melter gun, you mind control the melter gun, you turn around and melter gun another Marine that was standing next to him, you roll hot, you kill that Marine, right, and then next turn you activate your Patriarch again and use your remaining AP to fight and kill the melter gun. That, if the stars align and that happens, then you've probably won that game, right? Because you've killed 2 Marines in one turn, right? And they're only 6 of the buggers. But mind control's really high risk, high reward, right? Because you're gambling the 2 AP, you don't get those back, and you have to be able to roll. It's you're going to be on against a Marine, for example. You're going to be on D6 plus 4. They're going to be on D6 plus 3. You're probably going to win because you are 4 APL, but it's like, well, okay. Ignore what I said on the slide because you can only fight once because you can't fight him in the turn that you charge mind control because he's a friendly operative until the end of that. So I don't think you can fight against a friendly operative, but you could fight in the next activation. So yeah, I think Patriarch's cool. I'm very conflicted with the Patriarch because I feel like into Marines, ignore the mind control, right? Just using him simply to charge, fight, next activation, fight, hope that you've killed him and then conceal. Like, he is the only thing your team has, apart from perhaps the melter gun, that could roll well and kill a Marine from full health to dead. And so I feel like into Marines, you kind of have to take the Patriarch, but then part of me wonders if that's a trap, because taking the Magus or Primus gives you a lot of tools. You know, I'm thinking especially against like Angels of Death with all the piercing they have, having the Magus and just ignoring all that piercing just for the whole game. Yeah, they got the Sniper. The Sniper's got Seek. The Sniper with Seek's going to try and shoot your Magus, even if he's on concealed behind a thing. But it's only Seek Light, so you stick him on the ground floor. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. But maybe you have to take the Patriarch into Marines. You have to play games, find out, right? Psychic Familiar. So speaking of advantages you get from taking the Primus or the Magus, you can have a Psychic Familiar. So APL 2, 6-inch move, 5-up save, and a mere 3 wounds. Now, when you take a deep look at their card, right? They got small, they got group activation, they got elusive, that's it. They haven't got any kind of expendable rule, so they count. If your opponent kills Psychic Familiar, that's a kill for them, right? And likewise, it increases the size of your team. So most of the time, you're going to be a 13-man team, right? You're taking your 10 basic guys, your Primus or your Magus, you use Psychic Familiars, you're a 13-man team. So for the purpose of the kill-up, you're a 13-man team. So why are you taking a Psychic Familiar? It's not for their claws. 3 dice, 4s, 2-3 rending. It's a desperation move. It's something that you do if you get charged and you hope, right? They have small, so they can't use weapons that aren't on a data card. They can't perform unique actions. But while they have a conceal order, they're always treated as having a conceal order, taking precedence over all of the rules, e.g. vantage terrain, and you can fall back for 1 less AP. So you are quite hard to kill if you don't be stupid, right? If they have Seek or you wander into charge range, then that can be a problem. But generally speaking, you're quite hard to kill. You got group activation, so you must activate the other Psychic Familiar in the same activation as this Psychic Familiar if they're both still alive. Okay? You've got elusive. You can perform mission actions while within control range of enemy operative, taking precedence over the action's normal conditions. You can move through enemy operatives, move within control range of them, and then during the charge action, can leave their control range and still end the move, following all the requirements of that move. So this guy is basically for scoring the crit op, the surveillance tac op, and for drawing lines of sight for ruthless coordination. I think he's very valuable. It's also bumping up your team size for the kill-up by 2 with 2 models that, yeah, they're only 3 wounds, but with their super conceal, they're pretty hard for them to kill unless you misplay them. Yeah, that's pretty good. Trooper, so this is I've put him at the end because you're never ever going to take a Trooper as one of your actual 10-man core team. You could take a Trooper with a Primus or a Magus if you didn't fancy the Psychic Familiars, or you could take Troopers. You could just take 2 Troopers and the Psychic Familiars if for some reason you really want it to be a 14-man team. I don't think that's ever useful, but it's an interesting bit of trivia. The Trooper just has a las gun and a bayonet, and then he has group activation as well. So if you have more than 1 Trooper, if you have 2 Troopers, you have to activate them at the same time, which sucks. Yeah, Troopers. Equipment. Oh my golly and gosh, the equipment is all really very good. So we're going to start with we're going to start with Lookout. Lookout is frankly amazing. The Brood Brothers' keen eyes pick out encroaching foes and mark them for annihilation. It's a strategic gambit. You select 1 enemy operative visible to a friendly Brood Brother operative to gain 1 of your crossfire tokens. It's not once per battle. You think it's once per battle because that would make it seem more balanced. It's not. It doesn't say that. So every single turn in the strategic gambit phase, somebody that anybody on your team can see gains a free crossfire token. Brilliant, amazing, fantastic. That means you're giving out 2 crossfire tokens every turn without having to work for them if your leader is alive. Brilliant, fantastic, amazing, good. Then we're going to go to Covert Guys. So Covert Guys. Brood Brothers are able to pass as human long enough to close upon their unsuspecting enemies. After revealing this equipment option, roll a d3. As a strategic gambit in the first turning point, a number of friendly Brood Brother Broodguard operatives equal to the result that are wholly within your drop zone can immediately perform a free reposition action, but must end the move wholly within 3 of your drop zone. So sadly, you can't do this to move up your like Patriarch or Magus or Primus. But what's really good about this is that you can roll the d3, right? See what the result is, and then decide what you want to do with your scouting option, whether you also want to go for a free reposition action with the scouting option. So you could potentially have as many as 4 people moving up, right? Or a minimum of 2 if you chose to spend your scouting option on it as well. I think that's quite good. I think quite often we're not using because just running into the middle of the board's kind of a failure in this edition of Kill Team, but I think quite often we're using this reposition actions to get up onto Vantage. Remember that it's, that's really what it's for. That's why they're giving you a full reposition, but you have to be wholly within 3 of your drop zone at the end. It's to get that climb out of the way, to get you up onto the vantage points, right? I think that's basically what it's for. We're going to go for Cult Talisman. So, the cult places great importance on trinkets and talismans infused with Patriarch's power. These items are believed to offer protection to the bearer. Once per turning point, when an operative is shooting a friendly Brood Brother operative, excluding the Patriarch, in the roll defense dice step, you can retain one of your normal successes as a critical success instead. I think this is also really good. Okay? Because you're a very spongy team, and so being able to go, actually, I'm going to have a crit there, really, really useful. Stops you taking so many blows. Yeah, it's only once per turning point. Hopefully people aren't getting really good shots on you more than once per turning point, right? And you're going to need to use it more than once per turning point. But it's still good, I think. And then you got Cult Knives, which just buffs all of your guys that don't already have a decent combat weapon to have at least a vaguely okay combat weapon, which is 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 3-4. So the equipment's all really good, and you could do really well just taking all of the equipment, right? All of the faction equipment. But you're a horde shooting team. You're likely to want barricades, smokes, right? And your 3 models without guns are likely to want offensive grenades. So, if you decide you want that stuff, you can drop Cult Knives first, probably, and Cult Talisman second. I wouldn't want to leave without Covert Guises or Lookout, to be honest, at all. And then work out what you're doing with that. You could consider the scouting option to give you a free piece of equipment as well, so you can have 5 equipments. But, you also want to do the free strap ploy scouting option. You also want to potentially do the reposition scouting option. This is one of the first teams I reviewed where genuinely your opponent can't predict what scouting option you're going to do, because all 3 of them are really useful for this team, which is nice. Tac Ops. So I have 2, which I've spelt wrong, but I have 2 picks here I want to try. One is Surveillance in the Infiltration deck. So reveal the first time you perform the Surveillance action. Surveillance is 1 AP, which means that you've gathered surveillance. An operative cannot perform this action while it has an engage order. It must be wholly within your opponent's territory to perform the action, and there must be an enemy operative that's a valid target for it. So this is what you do with your little gremlin guys, your little psychic familiars. Run them into your opponent's territory, right, and then just look at somebody and go, oh, I've surveilled him. Right, that's 1 AP. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point or while within control range of the enemy operative. Of course, the little psychic familiars can do it in control range of enemy operative if they want to. Victory points. Once per turning point after the first, if a friendly operative performs surveillance, you gain 1 VP. At the end of each turning point after the first, if a friendly operative that performs the surveillance action during the turning point is in the kill zone and has a conceal order, you score 1 VP. What's interesting about this is you can use both of your psychic familiars. They can both do surveillance. You only get 1 VP for the first surveillance action, but it means if your opponent's going to try and deny you the second VP, they're going to have to kill both of them, which is interesting. So that's one interesting option. I think that really goes really well with the familiars and gives them something to go and do. Of course, there's already the crit op they could be going and doing, I suppose. especially like capturing the crit op that's back in your territory potentially. But I also think Contain has fantastic quality here for what's largely a shooty horde. So Contain, insecurity, you reveal it when you first score VP from the op. Victory points at the end of the first, each turning point after the first. If there are no enemy operatives wholly within your territory, so that's your board half, you gain a VP, and if there's none wholly within 6 of your drop zone, you gain a VP. So if you've taken like a sniper and 2 other gunners, and you've taken either the Primus or the Magus, you can make quite a castle, and you can just hold back with some of your other guys and be like, no, I want you to come in to me into the places where I'm going to shoot you. Right, I'm going to hold back and turtle, because I think holding back and turtling can be an okay and a valid thing to do in this game, because yes, your opponent's going to go ahead on the critical objective. You're going to cede the middle of the board to them. They're going to take that middle point, so every turn they're going to be scoring 2 and you're going to be scoring 1. So they're going to be going 1 point ahead on the critical objective. But like, I don't know, because I've only played 2 games, but maybe it's a valid thing to do, because maybe what's happening is, your opponent's taken, if they're following one of my videos for the Marines, they've taken Champion, and they've taken, and their primary is their kill op, so they really need to be killing you. If you're away from them, they're not coming in and killing you, but you're scoring your Tac Op, right? And if they then are coming in towards you, you might be able to kill them more effectively than they can kill you, because you're up on the vantage points, you're picking the fights, they're not picking the fights, you're forcing them to come into the places where you've set up, and then you're shooting them. And maybe that's a path to victory with this team as well, I don't know. For those, I'd probably try Surveillance first, that seems more straightforward, but Contain definitely interests me with these guys as well. Here's a sample list. I'm not saying this is the best list. I'm saying this is what I'd run with the first time. So, Commander with, I've written Bolt Pistol, which is wrong. Last Pistol, Power Weapon and Claw. A Melter Gun and a Plasma Gun. I think a Sniper. Sapper, Iconward, Vox, Agitator, Knife Fighter, Medic, Magus we've gone for. And the 2 Psychic Familiars. I think that's the list I'm most excited to try. Yeah. Whether the Primus is better, probably. But I think the Magus is really fun looking and interesting to me. Yeah, and I've dropped the Veteran because my Magus is going to sit in a clock tower going, yeah, I'm seeing him, he's -1 APL, and I'm making his life miserable. Here's what you need to buy, kinda, sort of. So you can just buy the £42.50 Brood Brothers box and have technically a legal team. Means that you're having 3 ploys that are costing you 0 CP. It really sucks, and you'll lose every game, I should think. You really need to get the Brood Coven box, which is another £44. And that's fine, you can play with that. But if you want to have options as far as that, like, if you want to build all the specialists and change which one you drop, and you want to build all the gunners and things, you're going to need a few extra Cadian bodies. The cheapest way to get a few extra Cadian bodies is to buy the Cadian Command Squad for £28. It's cheaper than the Cadian, like, infantry squad. It's less miniatures than the Cadian infantry squad, but you don't need that many miniatures, and it comes with some interesting little bits. Like, I use the Vox from the Cadian Command Squad that looks more interesting in my team. I think it looks cool. So I use that, and I use some of the Gunners' arms from the Cadian Command Squad because they're in a little bit more interesting poses, some of them. But yeah, I think that's what you do. You don't need to buy this all in one go, but I would probably buy the Kill Team and the Brood Coven at first anyway, and then I'd probably graduate to buying the Command Squad at a later date, if money is a factor. They are a fairly expensive team. Final thoughts. We're finally there. We made it. It's 11 o'clock, so I need to get to bed, but we've made it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What operative do you leave behind of the sort of core operatives? What's your take on the sniper versus grenade launcher thing? Or is that a false dichotomy? Do you think the answer is sniper and grenade launcher and drop, I don't know, the melter gun? Like, tell me what you think. That seems mad to me, but you might think it. Which leader, as in are you going for the... In the general case, you're going for the Primus, the Magus, or the Patriarch? Let me know. And I want to say thank you to all my members, subscribers, and supporters. We're really close to 2k subscribers. That's really exciting. But especially to my channel members, people that pay me a monthly fee every single month. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, tell a friend, and join the Discord. All the links for all that stuff's in the description. It's been quite a long video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time. And on we'll be doing another team. I don't even know what team, but on Friday there'll be another video, and it will be another one of these. All right, I'll see you then. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Goodbye. Bye bye.